Hello and welcome to Photoshop. Let's take a look at some of the basic things you have to look out for when you're going to build web page graphics with Photoshop. Typically you're going to do a mock-up and create your graphics here. Okay, this is a Photoshop page. Before we even make a page, let's take a look at color settings. The entire Adobe suite has color settings within it, and every program can be set to a different set of conditions. This is set up right now to North American Prepress 2, which is for quality print jobs, and it uses the Adobe 1998 RGB space, which is a great space for print. It's not appropriate for web because it's just too big a gamut of colors. The best place to go is set your space to a North American web internet. This changes you to sRGB, and that is the default color space of the web. Now the smart way to do this is not program by program, but to go into the Adobe Bridge and set this in Bridge, and it will set the entire suite for you all in one move. So it's a good idea when you're working on big jobs at your workplace to always go and check and set it up to the type of job you're working on. If you're working on a big catalog, set it to prepress. If you're working on web pages, go back and set it to internet. Okay, we built a new page here, and this is where I started. There are a bunch of presets that you can go for. This is the web. They have a bunch of presets of numbers here. 1024 by 768. These are all the size of monitors. How many pixels does your monitor display? And these are different settings for different kinds of monitors or scan choices in your monitors. These are not, it should be noted, these are not web page sizes. These are the size of monitors, and when you display a web page, your Firefox browser, your Google Chrome browser will go in there, and you'll have a viewport of considerably less than 1024. So you have to make an adjustment for that. I'm going to cancel this because I already have a page built, but here's a 1024 page. Just to give myself a realistic playing field, I made myself a shape layer, and this shape layer is 960 pixels wide, 690 tall. This is a really handy size to go within a 1024 default monitor size. It's also the 960 grid favorite size. So good place to start. These are some of the basic building blocks of web pages and graphics in Photoshop. So I have a shape layer here, just a great big vector rectangle. Above it I have a little green shape that I drew with the pen tool, and it's an editable shape, so it's just like having a little Illustrator graphic inside your Photoshop. Above that I have a layer that was just drawn with regular old painting tools. These shapes were rectangular marquees filled with the magenta color. This was from a paintbrush. And above that I have a text object. And this is still editable text, so you can change your text at any time as long as you leave this editable. And then up here I have a smart object from imported from Photoshop or from Illustrator. Tells me to look out for this, and if I open that up by double clicking it, go into Illustrator, I can change this graphic, do a save on it, return back to Photoshop, and you see that my graphic has changed. So this is a smart object, meaning that it's still live, it's still coming from its source linked file in Illustrator. And these are the basic building blocks of graphics. Now let's zoom in here quite a bit. Just a word about anti-aliasing. Whenever you have a raster image and you have two colors, if it isn't a horizontal or a vertical line, it's got to make some kind of a softening effect between the two tones. And so what it does is it makes some intermediate colors between, like in this case, the black and the kind of tan color. Same thing with the magenta and the tan color. It had to make some intermediate colors, which is called anti-aliasing. If I had just a plain stair step of magenta against the tan, it would look kind of stair-steppy, and that would be called aliasing. And here's a vertical horizontal shape, and you can see that these pixels are exactly magenta and exactly tan color with no anti-aliasing. And anything you make that turns into a raster image is going to have this. Here's the type, and it's vector type, so some of these are going to be nice and sharp. Anything that is not on a vertical or horizontal, of course, goes back to the raster anti-alias effect. And so with varying degrees of success, this makes clean, sharp edges, although you'll see that some of these things land on half pixels, and they have to anti-alias even a horizontal or vertical line. But that is a quick look at Photoshop, one of the favorite tools for designers to make mock-ups. Other people use Illustrator, other people use Firefox or Fireworks, or InDesign, or some other tool. Some people insist on doing all of their mock-ups right in the code. But this is the world of Photoshop, and next we'll take a look at Illustrator.